Hello everybody and welcome back to this AMD Radeon Extravaganza qualifier. My name is Slow Wolf. Joining me, Master Dalk. What did you think of that last matchup with SteAdfaSt and Zero? That was some pretty crazy gaming going on right there.
Indeed it was, and we're going to be getting even more of that into our next one. It's EJK versus SteAdfaSt. Now, we've seen both of these players on either side of the bracket, and this is our winners finals. Winning this, it guarantees you at least second place, but of course everyone's gunning for that first place, which gets you the free entry into next weekend's Radeon Extravaganza presented by ESChamp. But for game number one here of our winners finals, who do we got on the top, Slow Wolf?
On the top, playing the blue Zerg, it's the one and only Zerg I've seen today, SteAdfaSt. And who do we have on the bottom?
Well, on the bottom, we have our red Terran player, our American Terran player. It is EJK.
And both players going as fast as they can to establish their economies as quickly as possible as they begin to make their way towards the 10 or 11 supply, as it were. They are going to start building the supply depots and their overlords right out of the gate. So, SteAdfaSt, what do you think he's going to do? Is he going to default to what you expected him to do last time, or is he going to try to pull that curveball again? And was EJK paying enough attention in order to pull that one off? Oh, EJK apparently suffering lag again.
Who knows, but for SteAdfaSt, since it's on your research station here for our map, I'd very much expect that he'd be at least 2 bases. And so 3 bases could be very good here for SteAdfaSt. As the 3rd base, it's very close to the main, but of course, you know, it's not quite as safe as going towards the natural.
SteAdfaSt. A little bit of patriotism right there. So the hatchery already coming out in the guaranteed expo. Like you said, it's built right onto the base. There's no easy way to it until you get some droppability. SteAdfaSt going all the way with it while playing. What a boss. EJK continuing to establish his... trying to establish his economy as much as possible. He's also got a command center being built right at the expo. Right out of the gate. Before he really has anything else going, he built his second command center before he built his barracks, which is an interesting change of pace. I don't think I've seen that out of any of the Terran players today. The extractor being built upon by SteAdfaSt fairly early again.
Yeah,
that's the second time we've seen that, and last time he did that, he went full Zergling craziness, and apparently Canadian cuckoo craziness as well as he continues to sing the national anthem. In the chat.
Yeah.
So, what do you think he's going to be doing with this extractor that he's already building into? And, yeah, he's building a spawning pool again. Do you think he's going to do the Zergling Rush again?
I'm a little unsure about that this time around, because this map, it has a much smaller ramp, as, you know, you only have the main ramp, and it's very easy, especially up against a Terran player where they can wall off completely. It's a lot harder to get your Zerglings into their base, dealing damage. And right now, there's no metabolic boost quite yet. He is getting up 4 Zerglings, but that's a very normal thing, just to make sure that there isn't Marines heading out and around. And I'm very impressed with SteAdfaSt that he's gone through almost the entire Anthem, and he's still up at around 150 average APM. As normally, as soon as you stop to chat, your APM in the early game will just drop, because it's so easy to have little bits of unaction bring it down. But looks like SteAdfaSt has now done the Anthem. He is good. He is just going to focus on playing for now. And
this Overlord maybe being picked off. It's taking a lot of damage and just outside of the Marine range. But still, SteAdfaSt managed to see what was going on over here, at least to an extent, which involves a factory being built, another refinery, so there's the second refinery, and another barracks. So the Zerglings are going to go a little distance and then just back right off. That's about all they're going to do. Canada, definitely OP. We're kind of strong like that. The Queens have been built. At this point, what do you think SteAdfaSt is going to do? What do you think EJK is going to do? What's the main strategy here? With the there's a Hellion being built.
I'm surprised there's no reactor on it. And Actually, no, never mind. I was gonna say that I think the factory will lift up once this first Hellion's done, take the reactor of the other barracks, but I wasn't too sure because it's late enough into the game that you can really do whatever you like. But EJK is gonna be going for the 1-1-1. He's got a starport on the way right now, and the double Hellion production has begun. Now, unlike the Terran, Zergs, they're not very good at walling things off in games, so it's provided that he doesn't have the high queen number that we've seen from him previously, those Hellions should have a much easier time getting into the main base and should be able to deal a good amount of damage. But actually, SteAdfaSt, he saw that Hellion. He's going to be throwing down a Spine Crawler down up above the main ramp, and we also have Cloak Banshee on the way for EJK.
That is a pretty interesting start already for EJK. He's going very aggressive with his vehicles more than anything, and we got 2 queens defending for SteAdfaSt. But now that they're off of creep, they can't really chase any much farther than that. Where do you think this is going to be headed? I mean, obviously with the cloaking field, we're going strong into Banshees for the Terran player. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Why go Banshees in this matchup right now? Oh, that might have to wait as the Hellions are doing their best to try to dissuade the Zerglings from catching them. But the Zerglings a little bit faster than their wheeled prey as they start to chase in on it, do some damage. That Hellion's down to about half. A little bit less now as it starts taking a couple more pokes. These Zerglings are not giving up. They want blood. They're going to chase right into these bunkers. They're going to take out both the Hellions, and then they're just going to back right out. They do not care. That was a very worthwhile trade as far as I could tell.
Yep. Now, to answer your earlier question, before the Hellions got caught by the Zerglings, the Banshees on this map are very good. As we saw, this Banshee basically had an open path up towards the natural expansion. There is a queen here already, but a Banshee will win in the one-on-one with the queen. It will now cloak. There are no spore crawlers here for our Zerg player. They're just starting to get thrown down. The drones will have to pull off of that mineral line. And now an Overseer is on the way, though. So this Banshee, provided it can stay out of that Overseer's range, should be okay. But, 3 queens. 2 volleys, I believe, should be just enough to finish this off.
Well, the spore crawler doing some damage to this Banshee. The Banshee's just going to retreat off into the jungle in the upper right corner. But that's going to be enough out of that, except for there's another Banshee coming in from the middle area. It's going to start hitting the main, doing some damage there. It's going to take out at least 1 drone. It's going to deal some damage to the second. It's going to take it out. A 3rd drone goes down. 4th one taking some damage. Banshee's doing what it can with whatever energy it has left as it slowly drains away. The Queens and the Overseer gonna chase it off for now, at least from the main. The Expo, the 3rd one, gonna take a little bit of Banshee harassment as it quickly and nimbly dodges away and starts dealing some damage to the main again. 2 shots, down goes a drone, down goes a 2nd drone. This Banshee is taking out 6 drones on its own, make that 7.5. And it's taking a lot of damage, but it's going to be pretty much well worth it. That was a lot of resources that just went right out the window. And another Banshee coming in onto the safe Expo. These Mutalisks going the wrong way. This Queen's going to do its best to try to fend off this Banshee, but the Mutalisks are going to come back in and to maybe? They need to be able to see it first. They can't see it. They're just hovering around, giving the Banshee a hug. Banshee's all like, hey guys, how's it going? Let me destroy your drones. He's having a good time, and then he instantly dies. The Overseer showed up. And then on the flip side, we got Hellions coming up on the south side. They're going to start dealing some damage over here, and they've got the Flamethrower upgrade. They can do a lot of damage to a lot of units now. This is frightening. SteAdfaSt is in a rough spot right now. He's lost a lot of resources and a lot of units and a lot of momentum. And meanwhile, EJK is just sitting back. He's building his Thors. He's building his Banshees. He's having a really good time. What does the Zerg player need to do to be able to do anything here?
Well, he's heading up in towards the main base with his Mulus, but as you said, Thor's missile turrets are all around these bases. He's going to be throwing down a Roach Horn, and this is what he needs right now. Hellions, mech units, they are so good versus the Zerglings, especially now that Blue Flame is out. Roaches and Hydralisks, not so much. So getting the high number of Roaches and Hydras is something he'll be looking to do. Get some Vipers up in the later game as well for the Blending Cloud, for the Abducts. And though really getting up this 3rd base is a very crucial thing right now. You're up against a mech Terran that is on 3 bases. This 3rd base is just 4 SCVs away from being saturated. It is now saturated because of the mules. And it's a bit rough for SteAdfaSt, but if he can just try and hold true, and if he can keep these Hellions from dealing too much damage, as they'll be constantly coming at him, then he should be in a much better position.
As it stands, though, they are doing a pretty significant amount of damage. They're repositioning themselves to do as much damage to those drones as possible, but they don't end up doing very much that time. They end up taking a decent amount of resource income away from SteAdfaSt, but not enough to really put a massive dent from where he was before. In fact, he's still catching up income-wise to EJK, who's managing to do a decent job. He's at about 3,000 roughly mineral income, 700 gas income, compared to SteAdfaSt with 1,700 and 300 mineral and gas income respectively. So, yeah, SteAdfaSt is behind. I think if he goes for very efficient units, Zergling's not necessarily the most efficient, but like roaches here would be very good against these Hellions, as far as I understand. Speaking of which, here comes the army. We've got Hellbats, we've got Banshees, we've got Thors. This is going to be one for the ages, guys. This might be one of the game-deciding fights coming up.
Yeah, as there is a large number of Hellbats, and 3 Thors can deal with Mulisks so easily. And the Mulisks, they aren't going to be able to do too much, provided that the Thors are kept in a safe position. Though the Banshees, provided there's no Overseer around, will get taken out very quickly by the Mutas.
Which would be a good thing for SteAdfaSt, because those Banshees have been wreaking havoc. That one Banshee that took on the main and ended up taking out as many drones as it did was a huge factor in terms of the economy that SteAdfaSt has been trying to build. He's been constantly on the defensive, unlike the first game that we saw him play against Zero, where he was playing safe, but at the same time, he was managing to still push forward. He was doing what he wanted to do, and now SteAdfaSt is reacting maybe a bit more than he'd like, as he unfortunately ticks towards the disconnect. That's unfortunate.
But, you know, StarCraft 2, we do have the recover from replay feature, so it's okay. We'll be right back from the middle of the game. It does look like he is still online on Battle.net, as well as on Skype, so he should be okay. And yeah, I guess you know, we'll go to a quick break so that we can get the replay lobby set up and loaded twice, and then we'll be back with the rest of game number one. Yes, game number 1. So just stay tuned for a bit.
Through the clouds, now a vision and the light will wake to a sky of everything bright.
And we're back right where we left off.
Yeah. And that's right in the middle of a fight, as it happens to be.
Roaches doing a decent number. Their tankier exterior doing a good job against the AoE damage that those Hellions can put out, as they do a pretty decent amount of damage to take down at least one of the Thors and plenty of the Hellions. But that's all they can do for now. They're backing off right now, trying to get some HP back and draw them someplace where they can probably better defend, or at least closer to their bases. They're doing their best to do the amount of damage that they can. They're going to take out at least one more Thor, two more Thors. The siege tank's going to say something about those roaches, though, as they begin to just chunk them out. A couple siege tanks going to end up going down by the end of that. The Zerg base defended for now, but they lost their 4th expansion, and it took a decent amount of units to do that. Still, despite the number of units lost, 109 to 37, the resources lost is actually still pretty close, within only 400 of each other right now.
Yeah. And getting rid of that one lone Banshee that's up on the top right will help equalize that even more. Now, over on the south side of the map, we've got roaches heading down, trying to deal with this, but not quite grouped up together as they need to be, so won't be able to do too much. Banshee going to be trying to chase after these roaches as much as possible. Banshee of EJK going to be coming back into the natural as well, going to be trying to deal some more damage. So far, appears to be unattended.
And not really dealing with it. I guess SteAdfaSt is just... There we are. The Mulisks are coming in, but they can't see it. So the Banshee's just going to keep going on. It's only got 13 energy left, so it's going to be able to take out some more stuff. It takes out at least one more drone. It takes out the Vespene gas. It takes out the other 2 drones that were working on it, and it's just going to sit there and reveal itself. Is SteAdfaSt going to actually... Nope, it's just going to back off. Okay. It's going to do its best to chase down a couple more drones. It's going to take out another drone before casually strolling out without its cloak. So that's unfortunate. SteAdfaSt probably concentrating a little bit too hard in other places. The Mulisk's finally going to take it out. All things said and done, that Banshee did a decent number, now putting about a 1,000 resource gap between the two. And EJK putting up a 5th expansion. So he's doing fine on the mineral front. He's doing fine on the resource front.
You know, as a Zerg player, you never want to be down in bases. You always want to be ahead, and especially versus a meching Terran, when they have all of that gas available to them. That would make me shake in my boots just a little bit. But SteAdfaSt, he's got to hold SteAdfaSt here. He's going to be throwing down an infestation, but getting up to that hive tech is not quite what he needs, I don't think. I would say getting some Hydralisks, and eventually, of course, the Vipers would be helpful. But right now, there are no Thors. These Mulis should be able to deal with a lot of these siege tanks after cleaning up those Vikings. Roach is going to be dealing with the Hellbats off to the side. And right now, it's just a lot of havoc going on SteAdfaSt side of the map, falling in supply. EJK currently is doubling the supply of SteAdfaSt here. The 4th pace gone down yet again, and Thor has returned.
The Thor doing a really good number on those Mulisks as well, as do the other 2 Thors coming in the back to back up their big buddy. The siege tank's doing a ton of damage as well, as they just are going crazy. They're shooting everything, and at that point, EJK takes the first game in this best of 3 matchup against SteAdfaSt in a very commanding mech strategy. That was really, really... Well, like, the numbers showed it being really, really close, but that seemed like a really commanding victory there. What happened? What did SteAdfaSt do that caused them to really lose that?
Well, EJK, even before the bit of the break we had, like, that large mech force that he had was the better composition going into the engagements. Mulists and a low number of roaches was not what SteAdfaSt needed. And on top of that, EJK, he capitalized. He kept expanding. He got ever so much more ahead in resources. His production was on point as well. And he was able to just constantly be resupplying all of his units. Normally, mech Terrans, they have a bit of trouble reproducing all their units, especially when they lose most of their force. But EJK just immediately started producing some Hellbats, started getting some tanks, and worked okay.
Yeah, I guess the better composition ended up winning out there, but SteAdfaSt, now that he knows what's up, we'll see whether or not he decides to continue with his strategy or throw another curveball, or just do something completely different that we haven't seen yet today. What units would have been the good ones to pick up out of the Zerg forces, though? You said that Roaches weren't, and Mutalisks weren't what he needed. What did SteAdfaSt need? You mentioned Hydralisks in mid-game, but...
Yeah. Well, it's not like Roaches were what he needed, just he needed a lot more of them. Having that low number, Hellbats with Blue Flame are able to deal with it very easily. If you have the high number, not only are you able to take out the Hellbats, but you'll still have some left over to deal with the tanks on your own, and even deal with the Thors. And Mulis, they're good, but in the head-on fight, that's not where you need them. You need them going and doing the counter-aggression.
And in this case, there was nothing really that SteAdfaSt could do in that end, and he just got hit hard enough that he couldn't recuperate, and instead of letting him, get the chance to recuperate, EJK constantly just hammering him in, just not giving him any chance to rest, and that was the right move to do. That ends up being the downfall of a lot of competitive gaming that I've seen, is that people will let the other people, competitors will let the other competitor have time to build up, and in this case EJK doing a solid job of not letting that happen from what I could see, so that was really good of him. But game 2 coming up, it's going to be promising. We'll see whether or not SteAdfaSt can actually bring this to a game 3. That would be good for him, to say the least, but he's fighting here for his winner's bracket life at this point. And if he loses, he's down to the loser's bracket. He's going to have to face off against a bunch more people before he can claim that first place that people are really trying their hardest to get to at this point.